Family photos are $500 each. My sister Amanda smirked, adjusting her $12,000 wedding dress while the photographer snapped away. Cash only, no exceptions. Her words cut through the reception hall's champagne-soaked air like a knife. I stood there, still in my bank manager's suit from work, watching the fake smile plastered on her face. The same smile she'd worn when she told Mom I'd stolen her college fund. The same smile that cost me my family's trust 10 years ago. Sure, I replied, pulling out my work ID badge. But first, let me introduce myself properly. I'm the new manager at First Capital Bank, where all your accounts are. Her champagne glass slipped from her perfectly manicured fingers, shattering on the marble floor. The reception hall went silent. 300 guests turned to stare, but I didn't care. This moment had been 15 years in the making, ever since Amanda started the whisper campaign that destroyed my reputation and drove me from our family home at 18. You're lying, she whispered, her face draining of color. That's impossible. Nothing's impossible when you actually work for your success, I said, my voice steady. Unlike some people who prefer stealing their sister's inheritance. The truth was, I'd worked my way up from bank teller to manager over the past decade, while Amanda burned through Mom's money like it was infinite. She never knew I was climbing the corporate ladder at the very bank she used to hide her financial manipulations. She was too busy spending the family fortune she convinced everyone I didn't deserve. Let me back up. This story really begins 15 years ago, when Mom got sick. Cancer, the kind that makes you start planning for after. I was 18, Amanda was 22. Mom had built a successful real estate business worth millions. She'd always been fair. Everything was supposed to be split equally between us. But Amanda had other plans. It started small. She convinced Mom I was too immature to handle money. Then came the borrowed credit cards, the misplaced bank statements. By the time I caught on, she'd already poisoned everyone against me. The final blow, she convinced Mom I'd stolen $50,000 from her savings account. Money Amanda had actually taken herself. I'll never forget that family meeting. Everyone sitting in our living room, looking at me with disgust while Amanda cried her crocodile tears. How could you? Mom asked, her voice weak from chemo. Your own sister? I tried to explain, to show them the proof I'd gathered. But Amanda had thought of everything, forged documents, fake witnesses, even a tearful confession from her friend claiming I bragged about the theft. Dad wouldn't even look at me. Maybe it's better if you stay with Aunt Sarah for a while. Aunt Sarah lived 6 hours away. I knew what this meant. They were pushing me out, cutting me off, all based on Amanda's lies. I left that night with nothing but a backpack of clothes and my laptop. The last thing I heard was Amanda's fake sobs as she comforted Mom, playing the role of the perfect daughter. But here's what Amanda never understood about me. I don't break easily. That night, sleeping on Aunt Sarah's lumpy couch, I made a plan. I would rebuild, succeed, and one day, expose every lie. I started as a bank teller, working days and studying finance at night. Every penny I earned went into education or savings. While Amanda posted photos of her luxury vacations and shopping sprees, I was learning the banking industry from the ground up. Over the years, I watched from afar as she squandered Mom's money. After Mom passed away 3 years ago, Amanda somehow ended up with control of everything, the business, the properties, even Mom's personal accounts. She told everyone I'd signed away my rights during the incident. Another lie. But I kept quiet, kept working, kept climbing. Until 6 months ago, when I finally reached my goal, bank manager at First Capital, where Amanda kept all her accounts, where every transaction, every transfer, every loan application crossed my desk. And what I found was shocking. Forged signatures, unauthorized transfers, loans taken out in Mom's name even after she passed. Amanda hadn't just stolen my inheritance, she'd been committing fraud for years. I gathered everything, documented every transaction, built an airtight case, but I waited for the perfect moment to reveal it. That moment was now. I continued, my voice carrying across the silent reception hall. It's interesting how many loans you've taken out recently. 7 figures worth, if I remember correctly. All due. Well, would you look at that? Due tomorrow. Amanda's new husband, Richard, turned to her sharply. What loans? Oh, honey, I smiled. She didn't tell you? Your beautiful bride has been financing this extravagant lifestyle with borrowed money, Money she got by forging Mom's signature, even after she passed away. That's fraud, by the way. Criminal fraud. The whispers started. Guests shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Amanda's perfect day was unraveling, just like she'd unraveled my life all those years ago. You're making this up, she hissed, but her hands were shaking. You're just jealous. You always were. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. Should I start calling these loans? It would be a shame if everything got frozen mid-honeymoon. Richard grabbed Amanda's arm. What is she talking about? What loans? Nothing. Amanda snapped. She's lying. She's always been jealous of me. She even stole from Mom. Everyone knows that. Actually, a voice called from the back of the room. Aunt Sarah stepped forward. We know that's not true, Amanda. We've always known. My heart stopped. What? Aunt Sarah walked toward us, her heels clicking on the marble floor. Your mother contacted me before she passed away. She knew what you'd done. Amanda. She knew about the theft, the lies, everything. She left me a letter explaining it all. Amanda's face went from pale to ashen. You're lying. The letter is with my lawyer, Aunt Sarah continued, along with proof that you forged your sister's signature on the inheritance papers. Your mother never wanted you to have full control. It was supposed to be split equally. I stared at my aunt. All these years, she'd known. Why didn't you tell me? Your mother made me promise to wait, she said softly. She wanted to give Amanda a chance to confess, to make things right, but she never did. The room erupted in murmurs. Amanda's perfect wedding was now a stage for her unraveling lies. Her mascara ran as tears streaked down her face, real tears this time. You don't understand, she sobbed. I needed it. I deserved it. She was always Mom's favorite, always the smart one, the responsible one. I just wanted to destroy me. I finished for her, to take everything I had and make me suffer. I can explain, she turned to Richard, who was looking at her with growing horror. Baby, please, it's not what it sounds like. But Richard was already backing away. You told me your sister was a thief, that she abandoned the family. You said the business was all yours, legally inherited. Was any of it true? Amanda reached for him, but he jerked away. I need some air, he muttered, turning and walking quickly toward the exit. The guests began to leave in groups, whispering among themselves. Amanda's perfect wedding was imploding in real time, and for a moment, I felt a flash of satisfaction. But it was hollow, tainted by the years of pain and separation. Here's what's going to happen, I said, keeping my voice level. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to start a full audit of every account, every transaction. The fraud department will be very interested in those forged signatures. You can't, she whispered. You'll ruin me. Like you ruined me? I stepped closer. You took everything from me, my family, my inheritance, my reputation. You made me an outcast based on lies. I'm sorry, she choked out. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix the past decade, I replied. But maybe this will teach you something about consequences. I turned to leave, but her voice stopped me. Wait. Please. What do you want? I'll do anything. I looked back at her, this sister who had caused me so much pain. In her expensive dress, surrounded by dying flowers and abandoned champagne glasses, she looked small. Pathetic. I want the truth, I said simply. Tell everyone what really happened. Clear my name. Return what you stole. Maybe then we can talk about rebuilding. She nodded frantically. Yes, anything. Just, please don't ruin my life. Like you ruined mine. But even as I said it, I felt the anger start to fade. Not because she deserved forgiveness, but because holding onto this rage was exhausting. Aunt Sarah put her hand on my shoulder. Your mother would be proud of you, she said softly. She always knew you'd find your way back. I looked around the empty reception hall, at the scattered evidence of Amanda's excessive celebration, all of it built on lies and stolen money. Tomorrow the real work would begin, untangling her fraud, reclaiming my inheritance, rebuilding my relationships with family members who'd been poisoned against me. But for now, I just felt tired. And maybe, just maybe, a little hopeful, because sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction. It's forcing someone to face the truth they've been running from. I picked up her fallen champagne glass and placed it back on the table. See you at the bank tomorrow, sis. Don't be late. The morning after the wedding was chaos. I arrived at the bank early, only to find Amanda already waiting in the lobby. She looked nothing like the bride from yesterday. Her designer clothes replaced by simple jeans and a sweater, her perfect makeup gone, revealing dark circles under her eyes. Richard left, she said as I unlocked my office door. He's filing for an annulment, says he can't be married to someone who built their life on fraud. Sit down, I gestured to the chair across from my desk, ignoring her attempt at sympathy. We have a lot to go through. For the next 3 hours, we combed through every account, every transaction. The scope of her deception was staggering. Not just Mom's accounts, but loans taken out in her name after her death, business assets transferred illegally, even attempts to access my dormant accounts. $4.7 million, I finally said, looking at the total. That's how much you stole through fraud and manipulation. Amanda slumped in her chair. I can't pay it back. I spent most of it. On what? I demanded. Designer clothes, luxury cars, that ridiculous wedding. I was trying to keep up appearances, she burst out. Everyone expected me to be successful, to take over Mom's business and make it grow. But I couldn't. I didn't have your head for numbers, your patience for details. Every time I failed, I had to spend more to cover it up. I laughed bitterly. So you burned through Mom's legacy because you were too proud to admit you needed help. I needed you, she whispered. You were always better at this stuff. But I pushed you away, destroyed our relationship. I couldn't ask for help after what I'd done. No, you couldn't. I started organizing the papers into neat piles. But now you don't have a choice. Here's what's going to happen. I pulled out a document I prepared early that morning. First, you're going to sign a full confession, admitting to everything. The theft, the fraud, the lies about me. Second, you're transferring all remaining assets back into a trust that will jointly control whatever's left of Mom's business and properties. And then what? She asked quietly. Then we try to save what's left of the business. Together. I saw her eyes widen in surprise. Not for you, not even for me, for Mom's legacy. Why would you help me after everything I've done? I leaned back in my chair, studying my sister. Despite everything, I could still see traces of the girl who used to braid my hair, who taught me how to ride a bike, who was my best friend before jealousy poisoned her. Because destroying you won't bring back the last decade, but maybe saving Mom's business together will help us build something new. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I don't deserve a second chance. No, you don't, I agreed. But Mom would want us to try. Besides, you're going to need my help to avoid prison for fraud. Just then, my office door burst open. Dad stood there, looking older than his 60 years, his face lined with grief and shock. Is it true? He demanded. Everything Sarah told me. About the lies, the stolen money? Amanda couldn't meet his eyes. I handed him the folder of evidence silently. He sat heavily in the other chair, flipping through pages of bank statements and forged documents. His hands trembled. I failed you both, he finally said, looking up at me. I should have listened. Should have investigated instead of just accepting Amanda's story. Can you ever forgive me? It's not just about forgiveness, I replied carefully. It's about rebuilding trust. All of us. He nodded, then turned to Amanda. Your mother would be heartbroken to see what you've done. I know, she whispered. But she'd be even more heartbroken if we didn't try to fix it, he continued. What's the plan? I spread out the documents. We consolidate what's left. Put everything under proper management, the properties, the business accounts. Amanda works to pay back what she stole, but legally transparently. I'll help, Dad said firmly. I've got savings, my pension. No, Amanda interrupted. I won't take any more family money. I need to fix this myself. It was the first responsible thing I'd heard her say in years. We spent the rest of the morning drafting agreements, making calls to lawyers and accountants. With each signature, each decision, I saw a little more of Amanda's fake persona crumble away. By afternoon, we had a framework. Amanda would work at the real estate business under my supervision, her salary going toward debt repayment. All major decisions would require joint approval. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. As we were finishing, Amanda suddenly asked, Do you remember when we were kids, and I taught you to ride a bike? You promised you wouldn't let go. I smiled despite myself. But you did. You fell, she continued, scraped your knee badly, but instead of crying, you got right back up and tried again. You were always stronger than me. Being strong isn't about never falling, I said quietly. It's about getting back up. Maybe it's time you learned that lesson too. She nodded, wiping fresh tears. I'm so sorry. For everything. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I need you to know that. Actions speak louder than words, I replied. Show me you mean it by doing the work to make this right. As they left my office, Dad turned back. Dinner on Sunday? Your apartment? I'd like to hear about your life, what I missed. Okay, I agreed. But no lies, no pretending. We talk about everything. Everything, he promised. I watched them walk away, feeling oddly lighter. The anger wasn't gone. 10 years of pain doesn't vanish in a day. But maybe, just maybe, we could build something new from the ashes of what Amanda destroyed. That evening, I sat in my apartment, looking at old family photos I'd kept hidden away. Mom's smile beamed back at me, and I could almost hear her voice. Family is worth fighting for, even when they hurt you. My phone buzzed. A text from Amanda. Thank you for giving me a chance to make things right. I know I don't deserve it. I typed back, prove you deserve it, one day at a time. Tomorrow would bring more challenges, untangling accounts, dealing with legal issues, rebuilding a business nearly destroyed by fraud. But for the first time in years, I felt like I was truly honoring Mom's legacy. Not by destroying Amanda, but by giving her the chance to become someone better, someone worthy of being called family again. 6 months into our new arrangement, things were slowly changing. The real estate business was stabilizing, though it would take years to fully recover from Amanda's mismanagement. More importantly, the dynamics in our family were shifting, painfully but necessarily. I sat in my office, reviewing the latest financial reports when Amanda knocked on the door. She had changed in these months. Gone were the designer clothes and artificial confidence. She dressed simply now, and there was a humility in her demeanor that had never existed before. The Henderson property sold, she said, placing the contract on my desk. Above asking price. I reviewed the paperwork. It was all properly done, every detail correct. Good work, I nodded. You're learning. She smiled slightly, but then her expression turned serious. There's something else. I found more documents in Mom's old office. She pulled out a worn envelope, her hands trembling slightly. It's Mom's personal diary. I think you should read it. I took the envelope, my heart racing. Inside was a small leather-bound book, Mom's familiar handwriting filling its pages. As I began to read, Amanda spoke softly. She knew. All along, she knew what I'd done. She was just waiting for me to confess, to make it right. The diary entries were devastating. Mom had documented everything. Her suspicions about Amanda's theft, her heartbreak over my forced departure, her struggle with whether to confront Amanda directly. The final entry, dated just weeks before her death, hit me hardest. My greatest regret is letting fear keep me silent. I was afraid confronting Amanda would destroy her. But my silence destroyed our family instead. My precious younger daughter, forced away by lies. I hope someday she'll understand why I left proof with Sarah. I hope someday they'll both find their way back to being sisters again. I closed the diary, fighting back tears. Why show me this now? Amanda sat down, her own eyes wet. Because I'm ready to tell you everything, not just about the money, but about why I did it. For the next hour she talked, really talked, without manipulation or excuses. About her jealousy of my closer relationship with Mom. About feeling like she could never measure up to my natural talent for business. About how one small lie had snowballed into an avalanche that buried our family. I thought if I could control the money, I could control how everyone saw me, she admitted. But all I did was lose myself. And now? I asked. Now I'm trying to find myself again. The person I was before all this. The sister you used to look up to. I studied her face, searching for any trace of manipulation. But all I saw was exhaustion and genuine remorse. Last week, she continued, I sold my car and designer bags. Paid off some of the smaller loans. It's not much, but it's a start, I finished. Just then, Dad appeared in the doorway. Sunday dinners at my place had become a regular thing, each one slightly less awkward than the last. He'd been doing his own work, going to therapy to understand his role in enabling Amanda's behavior. Ready for dinner? He asked, then noticed our expressions. Everything okay? I held up Mom's diary. Amanda found this. He took it gently, reading a few pages. His face crumpled. I failed her. Failed both of you. We all fail each other, I said quietly. But maybe that's not the end of the story. That night, dinner was different. Instead of careful conversation and avoided topics, we talked about Mom, really talked. Amanda shared memories of her teaching us to bake cookies badly. Dad recalled their first date, how Mom had spilled coffee all over him but still got a second date. Remember when she caught us trying to run away? Amanda asked suddenly. We were what, 8 and 12? I laughed despite myself. We packed candy bars and your dollhouse in my little red wagon. She didn't stop us. Amanda smiled. Just packed us sandwiches and said to be home by dinner. We made it to the end of the street before we got hungry, I remembered. That was Mom, Dad said softly, letting us learn our own lessons but always making sure we had a way home. The conversation shifted to the business. Amanda had ideas for modernizing our property management system. Good ideas, actually. I found myself engaging, suggesting improvements, watching her face light up with genuine enthusiasm rather than artificial charm. I'm not asking for forgiveness yet, she said as we cleared the dishes. I haven't earned it, but I am asking for the chance to keep trying. I handed her a plate to dry. You have that chance. What you do with it is up to you. Later, after they've left, I sat looking at Mom's diary again. The last page held a quote she'd written. The strength of a family isn't in never falling apart, but in how we come back together. My phone buzzed. A text from Aunt Sarah. Your mother would be proud of you, not just for succeeding, but for giving grace where many wouldn't. I thought about that as I got ready for bed. The past 6 months hadn't been easy. There were still moments of anger, of doubt. Amanda was working to repay her debts, but trust was a harder currency to restore. Yet something was growing in the ashes of our old relationship. Not forgiveness, not yet. But understanding, maybe. The possibility of something new. Mom had seen it coming in her way. She'd known we'd need to fall apart before we could rebuild. She'd left us the tools, the truth in her diary, the proof with Aunt Sarah, the legacy of her business, knowing that someday we'd find our way back. Not to what we were before. That was gone. But to something different. Something honest. I looked at the family photo on my nightstand, taken just last week. No forced smiles, no hidden agendas. Just 3 people trying to learn how to be a family again. It wasn't perfect, but maybe it was better than perfect. It was real. 1 year to the day after Amanda's wedding disaster, I stood in front of the renovated office building of our family's real estate business. The old sign, Harrison Properties, had been replaced with a new one, Harrison Sisters Real Estate and Management. Amanda stood beside me, both of us staring at the sign in silence. She'd spent the past year working tirelessly, not just at repaying debts, but at becoming someone different, someone better. Did you ever think we'd be here? She asked quietly. Standing together without wanting to strangle you? I smiled slightly. No, honestly. She laughed, a real laugh, not the artificial one she cultivated during her years of deception. I deserve that. Inside, our staff was preparing for a small celebration. Not a success. We were still rebuilding the business, but of transformation. The conference room held a simple cake, nothing like the elaborate wedding confection from a year ago. Dad was there, along with Aunt Sarah and a few loyal employees who'd stuck with us through the changes. I have something for you, Amanda said, pulling out an envelope. I've been saving for it. Inside was a check, not for the full amount she'd stolen, but substantial nonetheless. It's everything I have saved this year, she explained. No loans, no tricks, just honest work and living simply. I looked at the check, then at my sister. Keep it, I said. Put it back into the business. That's what Mom would want. Her eyes filled with tears. Are you sure? The money was never the point, I replied. It was about trust, honesty. You're showing both now. Dad approached, holding Mom's diary. We'd all taken turns reading it over the past months, each finding different messages in her words. Your mother wrote something here that I keep coming back to, he said, opening to a marked page. The true measure of wealth isn't in bank accounts, but in the strength of bonds we choose to rebuild after they break. Aunt Sarah joined us, carrying cups of champagne. A toast, she proposed. Not to the past, but to the future you're building. As we raised our glasses, I looked around the room. A year ago, I'd stood in a lavish wedding reception, revealing truths that shattered our family's facade. Now we stood in a simple office, celebrating something far more valuable, authenticity. Amanda had changed in ways I never expected. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by practical business attire. She worked harder than anyone, often staying late to learn every aspect of the business she'd once simply exploited. Her new boyfriend, a modest accountant she'd met through work, loved her for who she was, not what she pretended to be. "I have an announcement," she said suddenly. "I've been taking my classes, getting my real estate license properly this time, no shortcuts." Pride, an emotion I never thought I'd feel for her again, swelled in my chest. Mom would love that. "There's more," she continued. "I've been writing about everything. The fraud, the lies, how it all fell apart. Not for publication, but for healing. Would you read it?" I nodded, understanding the trust she was placing in me. Together, she agreed. Later that evening, as the celebration wound down, Dad pulled me aside. "You know, watching you two now, it reminds me of when you were little. Before everything went wrong." I finished. "No," he shook his head. "It's better than that. Back then, you were just sisters by birth. Now you're choosing to be sisters despite everything. That's stronger." He was right. What we had now wasn't the innocent relationship of childhood. It was something forged in fire, tested by betrayal, and deliberately rebuilt with truth as its foundation. As I locked up the office that night, I found Amanda lingering by the new sign, tracing the letters with her finger. "Sometimes I wake up thinking it's all a dream," she admitted. "That I'm still that person who destroyed everything good in her life." "But you're not," I said simply. "No," she agreed. "Thanks to you giving me a chance I didn't deserve." "You earned it," I reminded her, every day for the past year. Walking to our cars, we passed the bank where everything had come to a head. The windows reflected our images, two sisters, walking in step, neither running from the truth nor hiding behind lies. "Same time tomorrow?" Amanda asked. "Same time," I confirmed. "We've got work to do." As I drove home, I thought about Mom's last diary entry. "My girls will find their way back to each other, not to what they were, but to what they could be." She was right, as mothers often are. We had found our way back, not to innocence, but to something more valuable. Wisdom. Not to blind trust, but to earned faith. Not to what we were, but to what we chose to become. The Harrison sisters were building something new, brick by brick, truth by truth. And maybe that was the happiest ending possible, not a fairy tale, but a real story of transformation, forgiveness, and the choice to become better than our past selves.